Welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Stoltari, and we are doing another episode of Les Filles à Marier. This has been a series that I've been doing since 2023. I've been doing Les Filles du Roi and this channel since 2021. So it's been quite a number of years, and I can't believe I'm still doing this. But when I started out, my plan was, and still is, to really honor these ladies, to really say this is what they did and this is the impact they had. And each lady may have had a simple life or a complicated one, but they all deserve to be remembered and appreciated. And with that being said, let me show you a couple of ways before I start on how to help the channel grow. Subscribe, like, and notify. All that helps the logarithms and algorithms and all of that good stuff. So if you can do that, that would be awesome. Thank you so much to all of you who have already done so. I'd like to talk a little bit about les filles à marier, the marriageable girls. Because they're less known than les filles du roi, they often get mistaken for them. Les filles à marier is a group of women, about 262, that came between 1634 and 1662. They did not come in groups. Many times they came one at a time, couple at a time. It was not a program. They did not receive any dowry or money or that sort of thing. They came because they wanted a new life, and it was understood that they would marry. But basically they were coming to a land, especially the ones in the 1630s, they were coming to a land where honestly civilization had not yet reached it. Because we have Quebec City that was founded in 1608. Trois-Rivières was founded in 1634. Montreal wasn't even there until 1642. So these ladies are incredible, and their stories are incredible, and the amount of descendants they have is incredible. So I really wanted to explore this, because this is, if the Filles du Roi are the founding mothers of Quebec, these truly are the founding grandmothers. And many of our trees and our ancestry link up to these phenomenal women. So let's get to know one of them today. And today we're going to look at episode 96, Louise Garnier. She's also known as Louise Grenier. And so there's different spellings of her name. She comes to us as a viewer request, and I didn't have her in my file. So let's get to know Louise a little bit better. Louise was born in 1636 in a small commune called Vazouze in France, in the region known as Pays de la Loire. Inside of that region, she is from the region or département of Sarthe. Her parents were Charles Garnier and Jeanne Roy. Now, there are about 1,200 people that live there currently. The church that she presumably would have been baptized in is the Church of Saint Aubin, which has been there since the 12th century. Louise would come to New France, seeking, obviously, a new life, in 1658 after the death of both of her parents. So the groom that she selected and who selected her, his name was Jacques Pichard, and he was born in 1634 in Rueil, France. His parents were Jacques Pichard and Françoise Noël. Now, he is also from the Pays de la Loire, and he's also from the département of Sarthe. So, of course, I had to figure out how far away these towns were. From our modern perspective, it's about an hour, about 77 kilometers, 50 miles or so, which obviously is not a long way, but in those days, it might as well have been, an ocean. Like I said, maybe circumstances, it may be connections, I'm not sure, but I thought it was really interesting. We don't often see that. The Église Saint-Martin that he would have been baptized in is also dates from the 12th or 13th century. So Jean would be one of the people who came to New France as part of Le Grand Recrut, the large recruitment of 1653. At that time, Montreal was not thriving. And Paul de Champmathieu decided he was going to go to France and recruit at least 100 associates, if you will, who would take a chance and would be paid, obviously, and would try to make a new life. And Jean was one of them. He was actually a linen weaver, so he had a profession. And in Montreal, there is a large monument, and on that monument is all the names of the people who came as part of the Grand Recruit. And you can see Jean Pichard is on that list. Very brave. Now, by 1658, he had presumably honored his contract and had, enough to offer a prospective bride. And on September 16th, 1658, Louise and Jacques were married at Montreal. So they would settle at Montreal or Montreal, the wonderful city that would become Montreal. Started off as a very simple place called Ville by the founder, Paul de Champmathieu, Sœur de Maisonneuve, and was essentially just a missionary center and was established in May of 1642. Now remember, we have Quebec City and Trois-Rivières that have been established, certainly Quebec for a long time, and Trois-Rivières had been established in 1634, 8 years before. So, here comes this new kid on the block. It did not go well. And they thought, who would go and live on an island, was their concept. And it was on the verge of extinction, as I've stated before, when Chamonix went to France for that Grand Recruit, of which Jean was part of that expedition. From this small group would evolve the Notre Dame congregation, because Sister Marguerite Bourgeois, very famous Sister Marguerite, she helped build that Montreal. She not only built the church, but she also built the educational. She was responsible for actually having the very first public school in Montreal. And times were very, very tough. They were constantly being attacked by the Iroquois and different natives. And you can see on the map on the left, they were just a sitting target, basically. And the very thing that was so challenging for them at the beginning proved to be their strongest asset. Because why? Because ships could go around and bring transport. It was easy. It was a wonderful shipping area. Now, in the top part of the screen, those of you who have not been to Montreal, this is the Vieux Montréal, the old Montreal, that has existed for a long time, probably since the 16th and 17th centuries, some of them. And you will feel as if you are in Europe when you go there. Notre Dame, it was a very small church, as you can see on the bottom, but now it is the magnificent Basilica of Notre Dame in Montreal. And this picture on the upper right is a depiction from a museum that I took, and I've got the references for you to examine that. But that's kind of like what the Fort of Montreal would have looked like in 1642. And of course, we now on the bottom right have the wonderful skyline that is Montreal. And so they would begin their family. Their firstborn, Louise, would grow up and marry Jean Merdor, but not leave any descendants as far as I could find. Their son, Louis, would go on to marry Marie-Madeleine Fortin and would have 2 children, both of whom survived. Jean would be killed by the Iroquois on August 14, 1661. The one thing that they all had feared had come to pass. Now you can see if you pause it, you'll see that it actually says tué par les Iroquois le même jour. So it actually says killed by the Iroquois in his death or burial record. Now we come to the second husband, Jacques Morin. He was actually a colleague and associate of Jean, so they knew each other, and Jacques had leased a house from Jean, so he was there. So Jacques Morin, he was born in 1627, and he was from the Saint-Germain-du-Val in France. His parents were Michel Morin and René Verdet. And you can see that he is also from the Pays de la Loire section of our region of France, and he's also from the Département of Sarthe. Now, Le Val Saint-Germain is a very small, as you can imagine, but the Val Saint-Germain church also dates from the 12th century. Louise and Jacques would marry on September 19, 1661. Ironically, it was only 3 days after what would have been her third-year anniversary with her first husband. They would go on to settle at Montreal for the time being, and we can see in the 1666 census that we have Jacques and Louise, then we have Louise and Louis, and then it's named Jacques Pichard, but he's not. That is Jacques Moret. And then Antoine Moret is there as a 7-month-old son. In the 1667 census, we have Jacques and Louise. Don't you just love how it goes from Jacques is 36 and then he's 40, in that he's aged by 4 years, and Louise hasn't aged at all, so that's kind of interesting. Then we have Louise and Louis. This time Louise is given the name Richard, but really it's Pichard, and Louis is a Louis Pichard. We have Jacques, who is now Jacques Moret, Antoine, Marie, who is 3 weeks old. They have 3 beasts, and they have 10 arpents, about 8 acres of land. The new family would settle at Lachine. Let's talk a little bit about Lachine. The original owner of Lachine was Robert Cabrini de la Salle, who we know very well. His mission was to cultivate and colonize this area. Unfortunately, he didn't succeed, as he was too focused on trying to find that passage to Asia. And that this area was actually named Saint-Sulpice, but it was renamed, kind of an inside joke, called Lachine, which means China in French. And then over time it became Lachine. And the reason why is that because of the fact that Robert Cabrini de la Salle was always trying to focus so much on trying to find the passageway to China that he couldn't focus on this area. Eventually, though, this area would become very famous. The Lachine Canal was completed in 1825, and it was something the citizens, the merchants, had long wanted. It became a way to navigate the treacherous rapids of the Lachine Rapids. At its peak, the Lachine Canal would have 15,000 ships use its canal. Go on to create their own family. Let's have a look at the 5 children they had. We have Jacques, who died at age 14. Antoine would become a voyageur and went out west, so we don't have any more information on him. Marie would marry Jean Boutelier and have 4 children, 3 of whom made it to adulthood. She would then marry Thomas Le Tendre and have 2 children, both of whom made it to adulthood. Agathe would marry Jean Dumas and have 1 child who made it to adulthood, and then she would marry Pierre Ardouin and have 4 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Marie-Catherine would marry Nicolas Jolive and would have 9 children, 5 of whom made it to adulthood, 4 of whom left descendants. In the 1681 census, we do find the family at Lachine. Now, what's interesting here is there's been some confusion. So we have a man named Jean Renou, but we have Louise Garnier as his wife, and their children, we know it's the right ones: Louis, Antoine, Agathe, Catherine, Jacques Moret. There he is listed as if he's not her husband. So I'm sure it is one of those mistakes, but it's important when you're trying to find something to kind of broaden your scope, if you will. They have 2 guns, 6 bêtes à cornes, which are goats or any horned animal, and they have 13 arpents, about 10 acres of land. Louise would die fairly early at 62 in 1698. She and Jacques would have been married 37 years, and she would leave us 208 descendants as of 1729. Jacques would die soon after, sometime after 1699. And since we were discussing Montreal, here are 2 books for your enjoyment. The first is in French, so it's Les Filles du Roi, Pionnieres de Montréal. And I have the book. It's absolutely amazing. and really describes different aspects of the ladies and their trials and tribulations. But the book that I really, really love is The Women of Ville, the Pioneers of 17th Century Montreal, written by my colleague Susan McNally, who serves with me at the Filles du Roi organization. It's just the most fabulous read. I use it quite often. I just kind of refresh my memory. Truly, truly a jewel of a book. And even if you don't have any ancestors from Montreal, please pick up this book, because you will find that you're going to get a sense of what life was like for our fabulous filles mariées, filles du roi. All of that, we will get a sense of what they lived through. So absolutely, Susan McNally, I've listed the link for Amazon, and also the link for the Filles du Roi, the Pioneers of Montreal, in French. And now we come to the end of another wonderful story. Louise Garnier was definitely someone who was strong, who was able to withstand sudden disruptions and tragedies in her life, losing her first husband in such a way, and then managing to remarry and be able to carry on and leave us over 200 descendants as of 1729. Remarkable journey she had. And also the fact that she was among those early pioneers of Montreal and helped build the city that would become the great, magnificent Montreal of today. So we need to say thank you to Louise, and we need to honor her memory. And most of all, we need to bless her and say thank you. Appreciate all that you did. And I want to say thank you to my patients and supporters. Thank you, all of you, for your continual not only support of the channel, but also of me, and your many notes of support and way to go girl and all of that really, really touches me. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Those of you who'd like to be a Patreon, it starts at $1 a month actually, and every little bit helps. So $1 a month, $10 a month, or $25 a month. All of it is in helping me continue with this broadcast and be able to continue with this endeavor that I'm doing. So I thank you to those of you who have already done so for many months now. So thank you so much, and I will see you on the next episode of Les Filles Mariées. Until then, au revoir.